Everyone has a story. Some of them are exciting, some are dangerous, some are tragic. I thought I'd share a little bit of my story with you today. I grew up in a home of love. My parents loved me. They took me to church. I learned things about the Bible. I learned about Noah's Ark and all the animals. I learned about David and Goliath and facing giants. I learned about Daniel in the lion's den, and how God is powerful. I learned of the stories of Jesus, how he loved the little children. But as a kid growing up, what I heard in those stories was mostly, you should try to be good. And then, if you love Jesus, you should try really hard to be good. But as I grew, I came to understand there was this darkness fighting for control. And I began to realize I was not winning. I was not going to be able to control this darkness. I was not going to be able to be good. And so, like an old Baptist church, every end of every service, they would say, if you want to have Jesus save you, come right on up front. Because apparently, business with God only happened in the front of the church with everyone watching. That was my understanding as a child. But I didn't want to go in front of all those people and admit that I was a sinner, whatever that was. It was terrible. I knew that much. I didn't want to walk in front of all these people to go talk to someone I barely knew about this terrible stuff going on inside of me. I didn't even want to talk to my own parents about it. But one summer I went to a church camp, and we sang songs and did crafts and went swimming and had competitions to see who could get the cleanest cabin. And no matter how hard I tried, I did not ever, my cabin was never the one who won the prize for having the cleanest cabin. And that was just one more example of how I wasn't enough. I wasn't enough to fight the darkness. I wasn't enough to love Jesus enough to be good all the time. I wasn't enough to keep my cabin clean at church camp. But in the evenings, they would have a preacher, and we'd all sit in these little hard benches out in the open air and listen to this preacher tell us about stuff. But one night, the words he said changed me forever. He did not say, if you want to come forward, if you want to walk in front of all these people. He said, if you know you need Jesus, come forward. Well, that was it. I knew I needed Jesus. I knew I was not winning the battle against the darkness inside of me. I was not winning the battle to be good all the time. So I walked up in front of all those people and I cried, and they couldn't understand a word I said, but God understood. And he met me there on a green wooden bench in an open air preaching area at a church camp in the middle of Kentucky. God met me there and he saved me. So am I perfect? No. Am I good all the time? No. But I now have someone who fights the battle for me. I don't have to overcome the darkness in my strength. I don't have to be good enough to qualify for whatever kind of reward is out there. I know that Jesus died on a cross, was raised from the dead 3 days later, and that power is at work in my life to save me from the darkness inside of me and from the death and hell that I deserve for my sinfulness, for my rebellion against a God who deserves all authority, all honor, all praise. And I hadn't given it to him. I deserved punishment. He took my punishment. He rescued me from the state I was in, and he made me new. And he continues to battle the darkness with me. In the comments, please tell me, what's your story? Where did you come from? Where are you going to? There's a lot more left in my story for me to tell you about what God has done in my life. So there's going to be a part 2 to this video. I'll see you there.